On a recent episode of the Ariel Helwani MMA show, Helwani reacts to Rory MacDonald's post-fight speech at Bellator 220.
I want to talk to you about Rory MacDonald, a fellow Canadian who fought on Saturday in San Jose, fought to a majority draw against John Fitch. And of course, by now, we've talked on many different platforms about his post-fight comments. And then just yesterday, we got his follow-up statement, which confirmed that he will not be retiring and that he will, in fact, be fighting Neiman Gracie on June 14th at Madison Square Garden in the next round of that tournament. Now that you've had a few days to digest not just the post-fight comments, but we also get the follow-up, how do you feel about this all, Aaron?
I think it's just one of the best human stories that we've seen in mixed martial arts in some time. Now, the thing about Rory that I think people have trouble wrapping their head around is why all of a sudden is he having trouble dueling with this new viewpoint that he has, this new religious viewpoint. And I think what people need to take into consideration is, fighting for Rory is almost muscle memory at this point. He's been doing this for more than half of his life in terms of competing in combat sports. So the religious part of his life is still very new. I mean, he's a new father. He's new to religion and delving deep into religion. He listens to all kinds of different religious podcasts, watches sermons online. He's really, really into it. So these are still training wheels for Rory in terms of that new part of his life. And he's trying to find a way for both of these things to coexist, and that's going to take time. So I think that when we heard his speech over the weekend, a lot of people were quick to react and say, okay, this guy's done. I don't know how he's going to keep doing this. But I don't think that door needs to close necessarily. I think it's just going to take time for him on a human level and as part of his human evolution to be able to get both of those facets of his life to coexist in a meaningful fashion.
So I agree with you on the reaction to it. I agree with you on, I think it's very commendable what he said, to come out there and be as honest as he was in front of his promoter, in front of the ticket buying fans, to wear his emotions on his sleeve. He has always been, I know you've talked to him on many occasions and you recently talked to him about his newfound interest in religion. To do all of that is commendable, and my respect for him actually grew. And there was a part of me that kind of felt bad when I heard that, and I was thinking wow, here's a guy that we've been watching for so many years. He's arguably the second greatest Canadian fighter of all time. He's been fighting since he was 16. He's been fighting for 14 years, and he's still a champion. He's not getting knocked out, but it's clear that he's evolving. He's changing in front of our eyes, and it's also clear that, the fire inside of him is dimming a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so my immediate thought was good on you, Rory MacDonald. I don't know if you're going to retire, but you should probably take a little break and figure things out and see where you are, because when you're saying things like, I don't want to hurt another man, that's somewhat alarming. And then they come out and he has a statement that, no, I am going to fight on June 14th. I'm going to fight in 6 weeks' time against a rising prospect in Neiman Gracie. And I feel a little funny about this. I don't understand why he has to fight on this card. I know they wanted him to fight on this card. It's MSG. You need some big fights. But the card is looking pretty good on its own right. They just added Horiguchi Caldwell. You feel a little strange about that statement that he put out yesterday, essentially explaining his thoughts, but also saying, you know what, no, I am going to fight. I'm not going to retire. Because to me, one more thing I just want to add is, I've never fought before. You never fought before. But I've been told from many fighters that those moments after a fight, those seconds after a fight, those are your most honest thoughts. Sort of like when you're drunk, right? There's no filter. And that to me was his honest thoughts. That was him unfiltered. Why are we pushing him to fight in 6 weeks? It feels a little bit tone deaf to me. What do you think?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But then again, you don't know what the promoter standpoint is. Maybe they had it earmarked for that part of the tournament. That's the way that their tournament structure is going to happen. They say Rory's healthy, and if Rory's unable to make the bell or make the walk, so to speak, maybe they were going to strip him of the title. We don't know what's going on in terms of behind the scenes. But yeah, I think that for him to turn around in 6 weeks with those very, very deep introspective thoughts and to somehow change his mindset so that he goes back to fight mode, exclusively fight mode, is going to be a very difficult thing for him to do.
Yeah, I feel a little uncomfortable about it all. I mean, Neiman Gracie isn't a heavy hitter, so to speak, but I do feel like he's a great fighter. He's a dangerous fighter. I didn't love his comments, if I'm being honest, after the fight. I felt that they were a little insensitive, to suggest that Rory was lying or that he was BSing or that he's afraid to fight him. I mean, come on. I get what's going on here. I get it's all alpha male stuff. I get it's machismo, but I would love to see fighters kind of back each other up a little more when it comes to these things. In the end, he didn't, and that's all well and good. I just don't really understand why it has to happen so soon, and that makes me feel a little funny. My prediction is they'll try to get him to fight the tournament out. There's probably people who are telling him, look, there's $1 million on the line here. Just win 2 more fights, and then you can sail off into the sunset. It does seem like the end is near for Rory MacDonald. Fans get a little uncomfortable when religion is brought up in sports, and I think that is sort of clouding their thoughts on this, because people just sort of dismiss it because, oh, God is involved. But in this case, Rory's not saying like, oh, thank you, God, for giving me this victory. He's saying that I'm having this internal struggle because of my faith in God, my newfound faith, and my occupation. And so, again, that's why I feel like, you know, we need to actually listen to what this man is saying. He's trying to tell us that he wants maybe some time. He's trying to figure things out. He's confused a little bit. It's all very, you know, it's illuminating, it's enlightening. It's also a little bit scary to hear that, because it's a man fighting in a cage against another man who's trying to knock his head off. Faraz telling me on Monday, his head coach Faraz Zahabi, saying that like the old Rory MacDonald doesn't fight that way. I've seen him change his style a little bit. He's not pulling the trigger. So all this is a little alarming, and I'd love to see, you know, people just give him some time to figure out his life. And to your point, he may figure it out. He may figure out how to have this double life. But for right now, it sounds a little more, to me, for totally different reasons, but it sounds a little more like George St. Pierre post Johnny Hendricks fight, right? A guy who was just confused, didn't know what his future was, maybe was going through some stuff and needed some time off. I'm not suggesting that Rory needs 4 years off, but it does sound like he needs a little bit of time off. I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, Robbie Lawler took his soul. Robbie Lawler, you know, killed the man inside, killed the fighter inside of him. I don't know if I buy that, but there could be something to the fact that, you know, the damage has just sort of piled on, and that has led him to start thinking these things. We'll never know, right?
On a recent episode of the Believe You Me podcast, Michael Bisping reacts to Donald Cerrone outclassing Iaquinta.
I was commentating at the weekend. It was a lot of fun. It was nice to be in Ottawa. I haven't been there since I was a little kid. But man, there were some amazing fights at the weekend. And that main event, I mean, we need to get into that.
Yeah, fight of the year contention. I mean, definitely the best fight I think I've seen this year. Cowboy Cerrone, a fucking madman. But that's why everyone loves Cowboy. He never doesn't bring it. When's the last time you said, oh, that was a really, what a shitty phoned-in performance by Cowboy Cerrone? It just doesn't happen. And what was pretty much a dominating performance against Ray Janelle. Ray Janelle's the fucking man. Okay, Ray Janelle's the man, as game as they come. But I believe the first man to ever drop Ray Janelle Iaquinta had that nasty front kick a la, was that Anderson Silva, Vitor Belfort?
Yeah.
Just nasty. It was a really fun fight, dude. And Cerrone, you know, proving that he's always game. I know you talked to him in the cage afterwards about the possibility of a Conor McGregor fight, but you're there first and foremost. Let me ask you a question. What's the difference being there and commentating versus either watching at home or just spectating, even spectating in person? Because you're looking at it from a much different angle. Because I feel like when you come back to these shows after you actually commentate, you have a different sort of insight than anybody else.
Well, to be honest, I mean, of course, the view is better and whatnot, and I'm the guy controlling the commentary if I'm commentating, but it's not that different, if I'm honest. I mean, yes, of course, you're right by the action. You can feel the blows. I mean, I'll be honest, Saturday night, I was sitting there watching that fight, Iaquinta and Cerrone, and I was thinking, even though I've had, you know, at one point I had the most fights in the organization, but I'm sitting there thinking, these guys are fucking crazy. They're crazy, even though I used to do it. But that fight was just absolutely insane. I mean, Donald Cerrone, and Iaquinta, of course. I can't praise these two guys enough. It was an unbelievable fight. Donald Cerrone, the thing that impresses me about him is that, you know, it looked to me like, you know, it was beginning to see the end of his career. Remember, he racked up 3 losses in a row at welterweight, and to be fair, they were against the best opposition out there. Robbie Lawler, former champion, and there was 2 others as well. Darren Till went on to fight for the belt, and the third one, I forget who it was, but Masvidal. So you know, but so you could be forgiven for starting to think that perhaps, you know, the end is nigh for Donald Cerrone, and maybe his best days are behind him. But people talked about how having a child has reinvigorated him and remotivated him, and it certainly seems to, because when he took on that Alexander Hernandez in his last fight, here was a guy that was undefeated, looked sensational. Cerrone just put on a beautiful performance and took him out in the second round. And then again, coming into this fight against Ray Janelle, I'm a big Cerrone fan. I love the way he fights, but I just thought, you know, Al's going to be too much for him. You know, he hasn't got as much miles on the clock. He hasn't been through as many wars. He hasn't had the stoppages, the knockouts, you know, just hasn't got as many miles on the clock. But again, Cerrone came out and he just looked sensational. He looked better than ever. His kicks, I mean, that was the game plan from what his corner was saying, was to, use the kicks a lot, slow down Al's footwork so he can't get in and out. And it worked a treat. It was a tremendous game plan. But his kicks were so fast and so sharp and so painful to just even block. Iaquinta was blocking those kicks on his hands and they would have fucking hurt, taking them on the legs. I mean, Cerrone beat the fuck out of him with the leg kicks, and it was beautiful to watch. Of course, Al, he had massive moments as well. He wobbled Cerrone a few times. He got in there and definitely gave a real good account of each other. But as I say, just got to take my hats off to both of them, because in that 5th round, I mean, Al was a mess. He'd gone through a lot of punishment. He had blood pouring out of his nose, but he was still trying right to that final bell. He wasn't phased. He wasn't scared. He didn't stop trying to go forward. But, on that night, Cerrone was just too much for him.
Yeah, it's funny because there are more parallels. Like, obviously, Cerrone just completely blew past your record for the most wins in UFC history, and that's fine. Nobody's even counting anymore, to be honest with you. But you see the parallels later on in your career where Cerrone is sort of having this, I don't even say resurgence, that's not the right word, but it seems like he's now hitting this stride where people are talking about him being in title contention. They're talking about these big money fights. And this is, after people were like, oh shit, are his best days behind him? And this is a very similar conversation that people had about you. And we were doing the radio show while that was all happening. I remember it's so funny because we did the radio show, and even at the time I didn't know you. I just kind of thought, was like, all right, well, Bisping is probably mentally winding down in his career as well, because he's picking up other things to do and he's looking for, it has nothing to do with who you are as a fighter, but it was like at that point, in everyone's mind, we're going like, oh, I don't even know if the title was on your mind at that time. And then all of a sudden, you got a few big wins and you're right there on short notice, you get a title fight. I kind of see a similarity with Donald Cerrone, where now after that fight, everyone's like, oh shit, dude, Donald Cerrone might be the next dude in line for a title shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to remember Cerrone, as long as he's been around, all the bonuses that he has, the most wins, the most fights, the most performance night bonuses. I mean, they're great stats to have. He's never been the champ, never been the UFC champion. And a lot of people are talking about the fact he has a kid now, and for me, that was definitely one of the things that fueled me as a fighter. And some people, when they have children, they say, listen, I'm going to retire from fighting. I've seen some fighters say that. They say it's not fair for me to put my body through that sacrifice. But I'm on the flip side. I'm like, well, no, I'm doing this for my family. And now Cerrone, obviously, I mean, listen, he's already got his legacy. Everyone knows that he's a legend of the sport. He's a fan favorite, and he'll definitely go down in the history books. Well, he's set many records.
Yeah, likely a future Hall of Famer.
Definitely a Hall of Famer. But for him, there's probably a few things. He said he wants the title fight. After the fight, we asked about Conor or the title fight. He said he gave up on Conor. He said he wants the title fight, and then the money will come. But for him, obviously he wants to be the champ, and he wants to set his legacy, and he wants to stack as many chips as possible. So he can, that's why we do it. We do it for money. And having a kid is a great motivator to push yourself and continue getting better. And he seems to be taking shots. I thought when he got stopped off Darren Till, I thought, crap, has his chin gone? Well, it certainly hasn't, because Iaquinta hits as hard as anybody in the lightweight division. That's a fact. And Cerrone took all his best shots. Yeah, he was wobbled once or twice here and there, but as I say, he took them and fired back. So, I mean, at the moment in the lightweight division, there's a logjam. Obviously, Poirier's going to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. That has to be the next fight. That's a given. So I'm not sure. I mean, I think this opens the door for Cerrone versus McGregor. I think after that fight Saturday night, I think after the fight he had in Brooklyn against Hernandez, that was another great performance. So I guess now the ball's in Conor's court if he wants to take that fight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's all up to what Conor wants to do, and it sort of sucks to have to, be at another, wait for another dude to sort of make that decision. It's not even like the UFC. There's really not much else Cerrone can do except for be exciting. It seems like Cerrone's sort of trying to figure out, should he be complimentary toward Conor? Should he shit on Conor? He doesn't know the angle to take in order to get that fight. But
shit on him.
Yeah, just think shit on him, talk trash
all day,
make fun of his fucking country, his family, whatever it is.
Well, that's what Conor is doing to Khabib. he was at it again already today. I just looked on Twitter this morning when I was having my coffee, and Khabib, I think it was Khabib, posted a picture, or maybe it was UFC 242 or whatever it is. They're going to be in Abu Dhabi, and it listed some of the fighters, Khabib and a few others, and Conor went on and commented, oh yeah, three of the people on there are all dirty Jews taking little rats. So he's talking shit to Khabib indirectly,
right?
So because he's obviously trying to get that rematch, you know.
Yeah, you're talking about having a kid and how it kind of either motivates you or, you know, I had a similar thing because when I got my ex pregnant, I had one of my friends, Ari Shafir, a great comedian. A lot of MMA fans know him as well from Joe Rogan. He's one of Joe Rogan's guys. But Ari was like, "Dude, you gotta abort. No way. You're gonna quit comedy. That's it. We're never gonna see you again." And he was half kidding, I think. I hope. But by the way, I'm making eye contact with my son right now as I say this, which is so fucked up. But abort. But he, some people do go that way, and they. All of the same reasons that you take that risk to become a fighter, it becomes apparent. Everything becomes into focus, and you go, oh shit, my job is now to protect that child. And you have one of two paths. You go like, well, you know what? There's no more taking a risk. Everything I've been saying I'm going to fall back on, now I kind of have to do that because I can't risk anything because I'm risking something, and I'm sort of putting my kid's livelihood and his lifestyle on the line, which is sort of selfish. Or you go the other way where you say, this is now the biggest motivation in the world, and I cannot fail. I do not have the opportunity to fail now. And I've always had that way of thinking. And I think that, that's probably what's going on with Cerrone right now, where it's like everything else has been like, you're running a race without a finish line. There's no real goal in mind except for like making some cash. Living your dream is a great thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Cerrone is this is what he's always done, though. So it's not like he's got to reinvent himself. He's had the fun, he's had the ride, he's got the fame, he's no doubt earned a lot of money over the years as well. All he's got left to do now is win the belt, and that was kind of the thing with my career. It was very similar. I'd done well over the years, but I'd never won the belt, and that was highly motivating for me. And if he wants to, I don't know. I mean, every time he walks out for the fight, he looks at his son, he goes and gives his son a kiss. I used to do the same thing, by the way. No reporters writing stories about that, you fucking pricks. Yeah. I used to do the same thing. I'd always go find my kids, I'd give him a kiss. But no, nothing. Cerrone does it, and everyone's, oh my God, it's so awesome. Every time he goes and sees him, gives him a kiss. I'm like, yeah, I used to do that with my kids, but whatever. You weren't interested then, were you? But no, listen, of course, he's got his kid. He wants to be champion. He wants to bring his son in the ring and hold the belt up high when that happens.
On episode 130 of the Below the Belt podcast, Brendan Schaub also reacts to Rory MacDonald's post-fight speech.
With Rory MacDonald, I'm sure you have his post-fight speech on here. Yeah. People are hitting me up about this. I don't see it as big as a deal as everyone like. You play it here?
Yeah.
It's hard to sometimes pull the trigger now, I guess. I don't have that killer inside. I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but I hesitate a little bit now. I don't know what to say. It wasn't my best performance.
Are you feeling that as you get older and you have more things happen in your life, that you're changing as a fighter?
Yeah, as a man, I feel like God has really called me the last little while, and I don't know, he's changed my spirit, changed my heart, and it takes a certain spirit to come in here and put a man through pain and stuff.
Stop it, Jim.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've known Roy for a while. I've trained with Roy. Roy's a great dude. I don't have a problem with this. The part where I like kind of jump off, which I understand why he does it, is the whole God part. But listen, a lot of change for you. He's been fighting for a long time. He's been fighting for I think since he was 16 or 15. He's been fighting for a very, very long time. Not to mention, he's had some wars. The Robbie Lawler fights, the Carlos Condit fight. He's had some the Nate Diaz fights. He's had some motherfucking wars in there. He's possibly the greatest welterweight on the planet. He's been at the very, very tip of the fucking spear for a long time. So you've been doing it for that long, training his ass off, being famous for a very long time. He's had ups and downs, but a lot more ups than downs. And then he has a daughter. So when you have a daughter, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives on things. So I think for some people, they can go, oh shit, I get killed on the way, I'm not losing a fight, and they get nastier. But for a lot of people, it makes you more well-rounded, you're more conscious of how nasty the world is, and you don't want to partake in that, including fighting. It happened for me. It'd be tough for me to fight now, with my son. It's just, I don't know, it just changes you. Makes you softer, man. Makes you completely 100% softer. For some guys, it's the reason why they fight for the kids. I get that. But for a guy like Roy, who he doesn't really have to fight for a legacy anymore. He doesn't have to fight to be considered one of the best of all time. Like, you got to wonder what's it's over, man. He's done it. So the motivation, what's there? I don't know. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like it's there. And he has Liam Gracie the next fight, right?
Yeah.
Tough fight for him. It's a tough fight. So, but when I see that, he goes, I just didn't feel good in here. I don't want to hurt anyone anymore. It's like, you don't have, Ben Askren doesn't really try to hurt anyone either. So you could do, if you just go grappling mode, you can do that against Gracie. That'd be a tough go. But when I watch that, I just go, oh, dude, get out. You just walk away now, man. No one's going to call you a quitter. No one's going to call you, you're still one of the greatest of all time. You had a phenomenal career. I'll just get out, dude. That's where I'm at with that. I was like, oh, fuck, I hope he decides not to do it anymore. Why do it? What's left for Rory? Rory champ. Great career in the UFC. Great career in Bellator. Made a shitload of money. He's a smart guy with his money. He's obviously on this religious path now. All right, man. Get your family. I think he's engaged or married. Get the kiddo. Get out, dude. You don't owe anyone anything. I think sometimes guys stick around because A, they don't have anything better to do. B, they think they owe it to the fans. You don't owe anyone anything, dude. Get out. When I see that, I go, oh, hopefully he's financially set, which I think he is. Get out, dude. You don't need to do that. You don't fight some killer Liam Gracie for what, man? Because you feel stressed or you feel like you owe it to Scott Coker or Bellator. Just get out. Matter of fact, it might be better for Bellator and for the tournament if he's out. He's kind of like the LeBron James of the playoffs. Now that LeBron's out, the playoffs are way more funner just because we don't know who's going to win. With Rory, he's the favorite to win it. He gets out, this thing's it's a great tournament. But what you don't want is a guy who doesn't want to be in there and he's not motivated to be in there, but has the skills to beat everyone. That's not fun. Liam Gracie, he's trying to make a name for himself. So let him do his thing, dude. Let these other guys do the thing. Let John Fitch go on. John Fitch Gracie's an amazing fight. He's just like, fuck. And then maybe they talk to Bellator and let John Fitch go on, man. And he's an old dog. He's looking for a title, man. He's been fighting forever. Give him an opportunity, especially if you don't want to be there. Doesn't sound like you do. I don't have a problem with it, though. I don't know why these guys care so much about the public opinion. I don't know who would question Rory MacDonald. Doesn't make sense.
If you have not already, hit that subscribe button with its notification bell and leave a comment in the comment box below of what you thought of the video, and tune in for more on MMA News Outlet.